The quantum key aligns sexuality and spirituality, transforming pleasure into power. Greg Braden. Sometimes life seems to whisper. It's not a sound you hear with your ears, but a silent touch that settles inside. A slight, almost imperceptible nuisance that insists on coming back. You feel that something is trying to speak to you, but the language is strange, indecipherable. It's as if the world around you is sending you signals, and even though you're paying attention, you don't know if it's just imagination, coincidence, or a game of the mind trying to find meaning where none exists. This space between what you perceive and what you understand is where many answers are lost. And it is in this space that restlessness dwells. Greg Braden describes the universe as a unified field, a living web that responds to our emotions and choices. It's not a poetic metaphor, it's literal. Think of an intelligent organism that reacts to your touch, your tone of voice, and your silence. Everything you feel and think spreads through this invisible network, and it responds. But the answer doesn't always come in the language you expect. Joe Dispenza explains that our brain filters what we perceive through the lens of our past experiences. This means that many messages are lost before they even reach consciousness. And when we vibrate on the frequency of doubt, these messages are distorted or erased, like a song that gets stuck on the radio. It's like trying to tune into a station and hearing only fragments, a verse here, a note there, without ever catching the whole song. This is also true of the signals the universe sends us. If the heart and mind are not tuned on the same frequency, the melody is lost. But what if that coincidence you dismissed was actually the start of a conversation? What if what you call chance is a dialogue you've never learned to listen to? Perhaps what you're looking for isn't more information, but a subtle adjustment, an internal alignment that allows the answers already present to finally reach you. There are times when certain symbols start to repeat themselves in your life. A number, an object, a color, an animal appear in the most unexpected places. And at first, you even think it's curious. You smile, comment, maybe even share it with someone. But Lago, life goes on. The problem is that the more you treat these repetitions as mere coincidences, the weaker the bridge that could form between you and the message you were about to receive. Greg Braden describes these recurring patterns as markers on the path, signs that you are touching a frequency where something important is about to change. They don't appear to fill the day's scenery. They appear because they carry a function. They are not magical divinations or inevitable prophecies. They are reminders that there is a force moving, trying to align you with a turning point. But it's easy to fall into the error of assigning meaning to each repetition without considering emotional coherence or context. When this happens, the message becomes diluted by its own interpretation. The human mind has a talent for creating stories. It sees patterns where there are none and ignores patterns when they matter. So the difference between a real signal and an echo from your mind is subtle. A real signal usually carries a physical sensation. Something changes in your breathing, your internal rhythm, your presence. A mental echo, on the other hand, doesn't change your state. It just draws your visual attention. It's in this detail that reading is refined. What if for a few days you just allowed these symbols to reveal themselves without rushing to decipher them? Like a silent observer who walks along a path and notices the marks on the wood, the stone, the earth. By recording these repetitions day after day, you begin to see the difference between what is the result of chance and what is an invisible seam forming. The symbolic repetition that you didn't choose is often the first knock on the door before change comes. There are encounters, events, and small convergences that seem to be born of a precise alignment, as if time and space had bent just so that this could happen. It's not just about what happened, but how it reorganized your internal world. A gesture, a phrase, an unexpected event that suddenly changes the way you look at life. It's as if in that instant, reality revealed a perfect fit, and that fit had been prepared for you. The difference between coincidence and synchronicity lies in the depth of the impact. Coincidence can be random, almost forgotten. Synchronicity, on the other hand, carries an emotional weight, an internal shift. It changes the state of consciousness, opens doors that seemed closed before. Greg Braden calls these moments microportals, instants in which the mind and the unified field align for a brief space of time, allowing something new to come through. But there is a silent trap, looking for synchronicities as proof that the universe is listening. When this happens, the gaze becomes contaminated by expectation, and any ordinary event can be forced to fit into the narrative you want. True synchronicity doesn't need to be chased or proven. It comes naturally, and what makes it unmistakable is the internal transformation it provokes. When you least expect it, a casual conversation with a stranger brings exactly the clarity you were looking for. Or a forgotten book on the shelf opens to the page that answers the question you didn't even know you had. These are moments that not only touch the mind, but resonate in the body, as if something profound had been adjusted. At such times, it's not the world that changes, it's you that awakens to a dialogue that has been going on all along. The answer doesn't always come wrapped in images, numbers, or unlikely encounters. Sometimes it comes dressed in silence. A silence so dense that it seems to alter the air around you, as if time had held its breath. It's the moment when the internal noise dissolves without explanation, and you realize that something has been communicated even without a single word. This kind of sign is subtle but profoundly transformative. It manifests as an unexpected pause in the mind, that constant anxiety that suddenly loses strength as if it had been picked up by invisible hands. Greg Braden explains that these moments of stillness are portals created by states of cardiac coherence. When the heart and brain come into harmony, perception widens, and the most delicate responses can be captured.
It's not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of presence. It's as if all the noise that separates you from the essential is temporarily removed, opening up a clean, receptive space. In this space, there is no urgency, no doubt, no resistance. There is only the feeling that you are exactly where you should be, ready to receive. These moments cannot be manufactured by force of will. They come when the body, mind, and emotions relax enough to allow the unified field to manifest. A simple, deep, conscious breath held for a few minutes can pave the way for this experience. But the key is not in the technique itself. It's in the surrender. The silence that weighs more than words is an invitation to feel, not to decipher. It's the universe saying that sometimes the message is not in what you hear, but in what you perceive in the interval between one thought and another. There is a silent expectation that lives in almost all of us, that the universe will speak in our language, in our format, in our time. It's like waiting for a handwritten letter when the message has already arrived in the form of music, an encounter, a sensation. This rigidity in the way we wait means that many signals go unnoticed, simply because they don't fit into the mental framework we've created. Greg Braden reminds us that the intelligence of the unified field does not communicate according to human linear logic. It responds to vibrational alignment, to the inner state we cultivate, not to the list of conditions we set. This is why so many answers arrive disguised as ordinary situations and only reveal themselves to those who are open to the unexpected. There are stories of people who sought answers in their dreams, insisting night after night that the message would come that way. But in the middle of any given morning, they received the clarity they were looking for through an unexpected gesture from a stranger in the street. And if they hadn't been open to the unexpected, they might have ignored what they were actually asking for. Wisdom lies in letting go of the shape and holding on to the essence. It's not about giving up desire, but releasing the rigid expectation of how and when it will manifest. When your attention stops watching the how and focuses on the emotional state you want to achieve, something changes. The signal may come small, discreet, even silent, but if you're not locked into the form you've imagined, you'll be ready to recognize it. And at that moment, the communication between you and the universe flows as it should, freely, vibrantly, and without barriers. There is an almost invisible anxiety that sets in when we want an answer from the universe. It's that impulse to decipher now, to understand immediately, to not be able to stand the wait. But this urgency, although it seems harmless, creates ripples in the frequency we emit. Greg Braden explains that coherence is fragile under pressure. The unified field responds much more to what we vibrate than what we ask for. When we vibrate haste, what we communicate is insecurity, scarcity, and impatience, and this completely changes the quality of the return. Haste is like stirring the surface of a pond. As the water moves, the reflection of the sky fades, and any image that could emerge becomes distorted. You have to let the water calm down for the reflection to appear clear. In the same way, the sign you are looking for can only fully manifest when there is stillness in your inner field. Changing the question, "When is the answer coming?" to "How can I align myself to receive it?" changes the whole game. The former carries expectation and control. The latter opens space and trust. When the energy shifts from collection to alignment, you stop hunting for signs and start allowing them to reveal themselves in their natural time. This change isn't just mental, it's physical. The body senses when it is in anxious waiting and when it is in serene reception. The shoulders relax, the breathing deepens, the heart slows down, and in this state, what once seemed distant begins to draw closer. Because deep down, the universe doesn't speak to those who shout for an answer. It responds to those who are ready to hear it. Dialogue with the universe is not the privilege of a few, nor is it a gift reserved for those born with special sensitivity. It is, above all, a skill that can be cultivated. Greg Braden says that this communication with the unified field is not magic, but the result of patient training, conscious observation, and an attuned inner state. The more you become attentive to the signs, the clearer they become. Joe Dispenza explains that every time you recognize and honor a signal, something happens inside your brain. Neural connections strengthen, perception patterns adjust, and your ability to pick up new messages expands. It's as if you're teaching your nervous system to perceive what previously went unnoticed. This is the difference between collecting signals and living in a constant flow of communication.